So I'll do my usual Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol review, and then I'll take suggestions from you guys. A lot has happened since I made that video on Sunday. I honestly expected more chop this week and was hoping to get some fills, um, but we just decided to full send. We have CPI tomorrow, and we have FOMC next week. So it's going to be a pretty busy week, or 2 weeks, I guess. And um, I'm going to go over why I closed my Bitcoin short. So originally the setup that I had was this here with the DC at the red. It brought my average to 108.46K. We were about $200 away from being stopped. This was an OB turned into a breaker block. We actually flipped that to support. We are this resistance that was my DCA. We are flipping it to support as well if we're able to close above here. So all signs point to the market wanting to go higher, but this is honestly the last stand um, for, I guess bears before we go full throttle. All right, so let me start this with a fresh chart here. Okay, so we have unswept highs there. It's not even equal highs. We didn't really touch it. So we have unswept highs there, and then we have our all-time highs there. And honestly, if we are to pull back, if we do get a deeper retrace from here, two areas where I'd be looking to long would be this 106.7K. It was previously, resistance. We flipped it to support. We lost it. We turned to resistance. We had the breakout, so it's an SR point right now. We haven't flipped this into a strong support yet. Like I said, if we are to reject from here, this would be it. Now we can draw this a little bit further, and we can potentially see an inverse head and shoulders forming down here. Now I'm not crediting any wick, right? So if we were to take Monday's highs and lows here, which this was Monday's high, okay, and here is Monday's low, and we just look at the intraday price action. Okay, so here's the low, here's the high, and we just look at the intraday price action, then you can make a few different plays just based off of this. Now, the 106.7K was solely going to be the retest of the breakout. Okay, so that is still a valid option if you guys are looking to get into Bitcoin. 106.7K would be the best place. But if you're looking for scalps intraday, then there are a few options you can do here. So we do have this order block that hasn't been, tested yet, but everyone is looking for this sweep on an intraday. I've seen it like multiple times posted in chats. I've seen it on Twitter. So if we can get a deep wick into here, right, this is where you're going to want to honestly long. I don't know if we get that 106.7K like fast, but if we do get something like that, this is where we want to get into, a scalp. And then if we do run the highs from yesterday, okay, and we close back below, that's where you want to take a scalp short. Wick or stop loss above whatever wick is created. Okay, so you don't want to take it unless the highs are swept and we fall back below. So this would be an intraday scalp, and I don't know if we run the highs today, but if we were to run these lows around 108.3ish, and sweep these lows and close back above on the hour, that's where you're going to take a long. Otherwise, you want to set your limit bids in this order block and play it that way. Right now, it's a little bit choppy. I wouldn't focus on it. Most of the liquidity is going to go into Sol currently with the news. So I'd be focusing on Sol beta coins. Beta coins, Fartcoin, Bonk, those type of coins are going to run much harder and stronger than Sol is. So if we take a look, and I'll go over an example, but right now, like for me, the strongest coin in the market by far is ETH and ENA. So if you were to take a look at the gauge of the market and the strong coins, I would focus on just the strong coins. I think moving away from Bitcoin currently and just focusing on one or two alts is the best way. And if you're able to understand the price action of those two alts or whatever two alts that you're picking and just trade that, I think you can do a lot better than trying to catch like 10 different trades. And honestly, right now, you guys want to focus on Sol. Because Sol just had that news, and focus on the Sol betas. So like Farcoin, like here, right? We just had that news, and the hour just closed. But look at this, okay? So up 3%, whereas Solana, right, up 3% as well. But like Bonk, right? So Sol betas are going to do much better, but you guys should be just focusing on the news-based narratives currently that just came out, because that's where the price action and liquidity will be. All right. So back to Bitcoin here. Although we have decent, price action forming currently, it's more of a chop based. I would wait for triggers to hit. So either wait for this order block or the sweep, or wait for the highs to be taken and play the reversion back down into this range here. All right. I wouldn't really focus on shorting the market. You want to go with the trend, and the current trend is up. Right. Do you take questions? Yes, I do. If you post it in chats, once I'm done, I will go ahead and answer those. Okay, so let me post these intraday scalps. Okay. Um, I covered this. I whoa. I covered this in my video, and I just want to quickly go over it. So USDT dominance has actually lost structure on the 4-hour. We were making higher highs and higher lows. We actually lost structure on the daily as well. So when I pointed this bullish divergence on the daily, back about 3 weeks ago, it played out. The whole market tanked a little bit. We did get rejected from this area, and this was the last higher low. We closed below it, market structure break. So if we do get a push up into a lower high, right, that's going to give alts in the market just a little bit of a dip, which, like I said, Bitcoin can go to that 106.7 or that 107. If we do reject from that lower high, that's where you want to start loading up on longs. So currently we have lost that structure, and I honestly would love this to go much, much deeper. The last, this is where bears come in around 4.48%, which would translate to that 110.2K on Bitcoin. So this here, okay, this 110.2K on Bitcoin is equivalent to that 4.49% on USDT dominance. Okay, above this resistance here, then it's just going to go to all-time highs in my opinion. All right, so be cautious when Bitcoin gets on that support level. Or sorry, USDT dominance gets on that support level. Lose the support level, alts are going to have a very good few months. All right, I covered this in my last video, so you guys can watch that where I go into it deeper. Let me take a look at ETH, and then I will answer some questions. All right. So people are prematurely starting to short ETH. I don't see any strong conviction yet. Now, let me get the other ETH chart that I had. Okay. So this is what I posted on Twitter and also in chats. So consolidation under resistance usually leads to expansion, all right? Now, not only are we consolidating here under resistance, but we do have, you can take a look at this a few different ways. You have a bull flag. You can do, ascending triangle, whatever you're doing, all right? The target is much higher, all right? So the measured target of this is around 3350, okay? Now, this is where we have to be careful on ETH is if we close currently like this, then we have an SFP, we have, swept the highs and we're still within this range here. We are at resistance still, okay? Daily still hasn't closed, but here's the thing about swing failure patterns or liquidity grabs in an uptrend. They can provide a dip, so like if we close like this, they can provide a move down, but these can be very, very small in retrospect of what we're actually thinking they could be. Like it's not going to sweep the highs and correct 10%, 15%, all right? In the event that we do, you have this order block here, which is perfectly in line with the golden pocket fibs. So if we do pull back into this area, right, this is where I'd be looking to long with targets much higher. You're going to play the range until broken. Again, we still are in a supply zone here. If we can break out here and hold above, it's our first good sign. But this SFP doesn't give me anything convincing that we're going to pull back 10%. Now we do have the China and US talk that's happening currently. They're on hold or whatever, but now we've gotten to a point where the market's a little bit more relaxed with these news and these sell-offs have been bought. So if we do get a major sell-off or a dip because of, stalled um, uh, talks between these two countries, that's where you want to buy. All right. So from now on, any tariff selling headlines are buys in my opinion. Now, if we do close like this, I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. I think we get a small pullback in the markets, but ETH has been overpowering or overperforming compared to Bitcoin, right? So, in my opinion, if you want to buy something, buy ETH and buy alts. I think the R&R to buying Bitcoin and how much more potential it has the upside is much less than ETH and Bitcoin and altcoins. So if we close like this, don't freak out. If we do get a small and shallow dip, that is exactly what we need. We need small and shallow dips. Anything, that are huge and break structure, it's going to be bearish. As long as we're holding 2400, we should be good. If we lose 2400, then honestly, you're looking at a 2100 point, which I discussed in my video as well. If we do lose um, 2400, you're going to be a buyer at 2100 because at that point we have lost structure, right? And this is going to be the next SR point that we haven't retested since we broke out. So I wouldn't be shorting ETH. Even if we close an SFP, the R&R isn't worth it. You'd rather want to long pullbacks. So if we're talking about intraday price actions, here's the macro. Okay. If we're talking about intraday price action, right, higher highs and lows, then honestly, this is where you want to be a buyer. Right. This is a scalp. It's about a 3-hour trade. Because lose that, then you're going to buy at the retest of this breakout point, which would be around the mid-range of here. Okay. So there, all the way down to and then you have your daily play. Okay. Scalp short at 2800 after sweeping the highs. I mean, again, you can take this, Victor. You can take this, but go in it with a very small position because we did sweep the highs already, and it's going to be a risky trade. So if you are going to take it, use smaller position sizing on shorts right now because we are fighting against the trend. Retest of 110K and back is your current bias from the charts. Don't you think higher now? As long as 106.7K holds, and I do think we will retest it, but as long as that holds, we should gun for all-time highs. If we do break 110.2K, which is this here, okay? If we, it's very strong resistance. We haven't had a closure. I mean, we can go to a 4 hour. We haven't had a closure and flip to support. We had the breakout, the closure there, but we didn't flip it to support. Rejections, rejections. If we can hold 110.2K and close and flip it to support, all time highs from there, no question. What news does Sol have? They had news about a or like chances of a Sol ETF, um, coming about. One sec, let me see if I can find it. I'm not logged into Twitter on my account, so one sec. Let's see. Solana ETFs progressing per Blockworks. Okay, so this is what caused Sol to pump. So that's why I'm saying, like right now, the focus should be on Sol betas and Sol. Yep. So if ETH performs, ETH betas are going to run as well. ETH betas will be LDO, OP, PEPI. ENA really isn't an ETH beta, but ENA with the focus on DeFi's currently is looks really good and one of the strongest coins in the market. Got multiple questions. Do you use SMC patterns? Nope, I don't look at SMC. Smart money concept is stupid. I don't also look at total 3 or others. I only watch USDT dominance, and understanding Bitcoin dominance will give you the position or know-how to either be in alts risk on or risk off. So understanding Bitcoin dominance is very important as well. Do you always enter the trade when it's a retest? Um, it depends. So if, like, for example, the only retests that I take are confirmation trades. So for example, that 110.2K Bitcoin, we have to break out and retest and flip it to support before entering. However, SR points, which were previously resistance or here support, turn to resistance. Here is a breakout, so that 106.7K, that is where I would start my bids on spot. All right, leverage, you can also start your bids on leverage and DC at support levels, but that's where I have my starter positions, i.e. my lower positions. All right. I'll look at other coins later. Let me just go over my current coins. I already am in Sol betas. You can always position yourself in coins. You don't always have to enter at the exact bottom. So buying a small amount and DCAing is the best way to go. That's what I will always tell you people. I will never answer the question, like, should I sell my coins now? Should I buy something now? My answer will always be you can start DCAing into coins and buying on the way down. Even if you think price is going to go lower, get some starter positions, and you can always DC on the way down. I don't use any indicators whatsoever. Indicators are for retards. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS method. Okay, let me go over Sol. Okay. So Sol has a break of structure. If we close the well, let's take a look at the daily first. So the daily actually did have the break of structure. It happened when we closed above 157.63, right? The 4 hour is about to have a break of structure once we close above 1 in the next 37 minutes, once we close above 162.23. Okay. So if we take a look at here, a retest of this would be a very strong buy. A retest and hold would be a very strong buy. We have demand zone here. So this move from this demand zone isn't strong, but if we're looking at continued strength from Sol, this would be the setup that I'd be looking for. All right. Now, who knows what could come out in the next, you know, 6 hours, 7 hours. But if this Sol news is actually that strong, this is where I would buy. We have the break of structure. So looking at the next higher low is where I would position myself. You can also see that this is possibly like some type of inverse head and shoulders, not a clean one because we don't have the right shoulder, but um, you know, I think that this can go and take out at least this supply zone here. So that's where I'd be looking to take profit in this area. Okay, so if we get a dip into 162.2, hopefully we close the 4 hour above first. I don't want to close below because if we close below, then we have taken out these internal highs here. And it could be a short-term SFP, right? So dip into there is where I'd be looking to buy. I wouldn't be looking for shorts right now, but if I were, okay, this supply zone is where you'd be looking to short. Okay. Can you take a look at B-vol? Let me know when you expect volatility. B-vol already hit my zone. So B-vol hit my zone on Sunday. So today and tomorrow should be the biggest volatility in terms of volatility, which makes sense. Tomorrow is CPI. Top target for Bitcoin this cycle. Where I thought I had the chart. Maybe I don't. 140, well, 125 to 130 was my original target, but the 2-week bearish divergence drive would be around 145. And yes, I do use RSI only to see divs, but I don't use it for anything else. So like, okay. So if this is going to be a third drive here around, depending on how long this is going to take, around 135 to 140 would be the cycle top in my opinion. But you can't really you know time tops. So if you are looking to sell the top, you have to wait for a break of structure to happen, and then you can sell the break of structure. You will never time the top of any market. One sec. Just gotta check something. There is not an ETH vol chart now. Is Sui still a strong coin in your opinion? Yes and no. Well, yes. Sui has lost investor confidence because of that, exploit. So it's gonna take some time for it to get back to where it was, but I do see Sui, being a strong competitor to ETH, and eventually I do see it recovering. But the whole market's pumping. Sui really isn't doing much, right? Like you see ETH up 3%, Sol up 2, ENA up 4, and Sui just a measly like 0.5%. So in terms of strength, it's very weak compared to everything else. Good close on my short. And sometimes, like I said, I've said this multiple times, you have to be okay with cutting losses early. And um, I was $200 away from being stopped in my Bitcoin short. I rode that all the way down to a 0.25 unleveraged loss, and a lot of people are unable to take losses, even if it's like a percent or 2%, and they try to DC their their trades to get out of it. It's just easier to get out of the trade completely and just reset your mind to get into a different trade completely. All right, so it's okay to take losses. A lot of people need to do more of that instead of holding on and trying to hope for the best. Okay. How do you use OB? I can't go into that. It's gonna take me a whole time. I only go that into in my class, but that will take me a whole session, and I don't teach that anymore live. Sorry. Do you think this PA could be pricing in CPI for tomorrow and we dip from there? Um, Good question. I don't know anymore. Like big news like this, I just don't know anymore. Like maybe we reprice higher, maybe this was the whole dip, but this dip wasn't, or sorry, this breakout wasn't just random. Like Bitcoin broke out. Bitcoin broke out with strong force and it just never turned back. All right. So this wasn't random. I mean, you had the breakout, there's the perfect retest, and then it continued going out. Now we are, almost 2% away from all-time highs, and this isn't the place to be bearish. Like if you the place to be bearish was back here. All right. Um, this is the last straw for the bears. So I think if tomorrow comes out, good, then we will break all-time highs, no problem. And we are flirting with that 110.2K, but I think Bitcoin needs to just break this all-time high, stabilize and range, or if it doesn't want to break these highs, fine, stay within this range and let alts run for June and July. So my trade setup um, relies heavily on support resistance and supply demand zone confluence and using fibs. That's all I use. I don't use patterns or anything. I use them for confluence, but nothing else. Support resistance, entering in at SR points, and then DCing within demand zone supply zones. I have a 2-hour video going over my supply and demand zone on YouTube. If you just go to my playlist, made that back about 2 years, 2.5 years ago, still valid today. All right, so I don't think we get rate cuts um, this month. If we do get rate cuts, it's going to be in September. All right, so I'm done with mine. And let's take a look at a few charts. Everyone's taking a look at Farcoins. Let's take a look at Farcoin. So if Farcoin is to reject, it would be around $1.43. Again, if you are wanting to buy something, buy in DCA lower. Like I said, no one is good enough. a trader to buy the exact bottom. So if you want to buy and you don't get those deeper fills, then you wait for resistance to be flipped to buy higher. So currently we are at resistance, a pretty strong one here, in fact. So if you are going to buy resistance, and sometimes you have to tell your wife's boyfriend that he's a pussy and you're going to buy at resistance, and this is where you're going to buy, right? So either you buy here and DCA on the way down. So this would be a retest of the breakout. This would be an area where you DCA. You buy here. If you don't get this DCA, then you wait for this resistance to be flipped and you add more to your position there. All right. So this is where if I were looking to buy and I think Fartcoin goes higher or even lower, I would slowly start to position myself here, DCA down there, and then we do have a break of structure on the 4-hour, not on the daily. There was a divergence here, right? We had the break of structure, so buying here or at the next higher low is where I would be looking to buy. Okay, and if I don't get that higher low, then if I do buy here, I'm waiting for this resistance to be flipped to support to add to my position. Okay. This wouldn't be a coin that I would trade on leverage because of the volatility. I would buy this on spot, and I do think this can run at least like 50 to 60% if Sol goes to my targets of 200 plus 250, $250. So I'll put this here for you guys. Okay. Let's take a look at Wave. Yeah, this thing is I was looking at this yesterday at like 260 and I wanted to buy. This moves really strong with ETH and so if you ever see, and it can't just be a random shit coin, like it has to be a good coin. If you see a long accumulation base like this, the expansion is going to be absolutely mental. All right. Link had it, this had it, a few other coins that I've shared recently had it. Look for accumulation bases like this. It could be on a lower time frame as well. And these will absolutely godsend. All right. So if we're taking a look at A here, if we do, or if we are presented with a retest of 282, that's where I'd be looking to buy. Now, like I said, this coin moves with ETH, and ETH has been absolutely mental. This was consolidating under resistance, just like ETH, right? You had previously support turn into resistance. You also had the same exact pattern. You can draw this on ETH as well. Bull flag under resistance leads to expansion, right? So anything that's consolidating under resistance leads to expansion in an uptrend, okay, not in a downtrend. And this is clearly an uptrend, all right? So if we are to reject, this was the perfect place to do so. You had the daily OB here. So if we are looking to buy, I would look to buy the retest around 282 if we are to get it. Now we do have to go to a lower time frame here to see potential. This looks like it wants to go higher. Most likely even a lower time frame. You have the accumulation zone here. You have demand zone. If this does put in a lower time frame, lower high here, right, then you want to buy there and DCA all the way from basically 290 to 282. That area should hold, and then hopefully for ETH to cool down a little bit and get a small retrace and then full send. But this is where I expect it to at least slow down. You have, like I said, the OB here. So this is where I expect it to slow down. If we do, if we don't get a retrace, all right, then you want to see a flip here on the daily before entering in. All right, so this is strong resistance to. This is where you want to buy on a lower time frame. And again, see how these wicks are just absurd. I would buy this on spot. And if we do close back under here and turn this previous range that we had here into resistance, that's where you can look to cut and get back in lower. But this is where I'd be looking to buy spot positions. Coin is so safe. ENA. I'm actually pretty pissed off that I sold this. ENA just had a perfect retest of this previous support, and this looks like it wants the full send from here. Let's take a look. Yeah, this shit wants to run. So I've highlighted this multiple times in my video, right? You have a higher low. And this weekly, if we close above 35 cents, looks very good to continue running. This would be a coin you just buy now in DCA down to like 29 cents. And I think it can put in like at least an 80% move. But on leverage, it's still in a downtrend. Okay, so on leverage, you wait for the breakout and retest, and then you can buy and target these highs. Otherwise, if we do get a dip and reject from here, this would be a leverage position. Okay, so you have a descending channel here. It looks good for higher, but like I said, we are still in a downtrend here. So you want to wait for that retest to happen. Above 45 cents, this thing full sends. Sorry, not 45. Above this zone. Okay. So I'll put that here for you guys. Red button is disabled for me. C pool. RWA narrative is dead. Well, here is an one sec. Here is an example of what I was saying, right? Long accumulation base, right? What coin was I just fucking talking about that had this? Was it Ave? Yeah, it was Ave. Downtrend, accumulation. This is where we currently are, in my opinion, with C pool, right? So, you are at a low risk area. To buy some here in DC all the way down to 10 cents, and if the RWA narrative comes, I mean, look what Ave did just from this break, here, right? 103%, and then from that point, 500%. So I think it's at a low risk area where, I mean, we are at resistance, right? But low risk area, this has been touched multiple times. Low risk area to maybe buy here and DCA down to 10 cents. And then, if the narrative comes back, this can easily put in a 2x. But these are the type of patterns or accumulation bases that I'm currently looking at. Right. So spot buy looks pretty good. Okay. Jupe. So it lost market structure when we closed below the last previous high or low. Currently at resistance. Possible low time frame breakout. Maybe like a falling wedge. So here is the measured targets of the falling wedge. Okay. So around 61 cents, which is very strong resistance. We are attempting a breakout here. We're gonna close above. So if we do get a retest, similar to Sol around that 262, 260, 1 mark, I don't like this coin, but if Sol holds that area, your first TP would be, one sec. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. This would be your first TP at that bearish retest point. This is probably like a very high risk setup. We're getting rejected there. So we need to close above this resistance around 49.3, and then you could look for that retest point. Otherwise, this isn't valid because this move from this demand zone is barely anything. A safer long would be if we are able to reclaim this trend line. This would just be a deviation of this breakdown point, and then you could cleanly long with, as stops develop. I don't know where that would be currently. You could, long into that area, and stops would be probably tighter, somewhere like around there, but you need price action to develop. This would be a conditional trigger. But I think there are better coins to trade than Jupe. Um, it's unclear. I mean, this pump was just because of that Sol news, but I'd rather go with like coins like Fartcoin or Sol if you want to trade. That wick alone was about 2%. Now, if we do reject from here, let's actually take it from these highs here. If we do reject from here, then you have a perfect golden pocket, or this is the conditional flip, all right? This is the retest if we are able to close above here. That's where you'd be looking to play. Probably tighter stop. if we do reject from here at the bearish retest point, right, you want to wait until the rejection happens, closes below, and then you can open up some type of short, probably, I don't know where that's going to be. If this takes longer, it could be up here. But let's assume at this current price, it's going to be around here, stops above resistance, and then this could be another lower high, right? Or low, maybe another lower high there. You have the confluence of market structure, bearish retest point, and fibs if we are to reject from here. Now, market structure isn't broken until we get back above 56 cents. All right. So this is why this makes it riskier to trade this coin. Jupe. 2 more months left with me. Yeah, this will be the last month that I'm streaming though. I won't be streaming in July and August. I have stuff I gotta do. I am not going to do 10 coins, so I'll just pick SPX because that was asked a few times, and I'll do Tau, but I won't be looking at. Actually, SPX. Yeah, let's do SPX. Is there a spot chart? Is this the highest? Well, it's getting close to price discovery. Definitely don't short a coin when it's about to be in price discovery, but it is at resistance. I don't see this having a deep pullback. But in the event that we do, this is your demand zone. But let's take a look at this from a lower time frame. It's just vertical accumulation. I actually don't know. I don't like coins like this. I don't trade shit coins. Your closest accumulation is going to be here. So I know it's pretty close to all-time highs, and this rejection can be pretty drastic. But basically something like that. This would be a stronger consolidation because higher time frame and the accumulation is longer and vertical. I think this was a daily. Yeah, longer and vertical. Sorry, longer and horizontal. But this would be your scalp. Otherwise, wait for this to break all-time highs, and then you play the retest. And usually the retests of all-time high breaks offer huge moves. So here I can show you a few examples really quickly. But if this breaks above, wait for the retest and play the retest of the previous all-time highs, and then this will run higher and higher. All right. So a quick example. Let me just post this. A quick example of this would be like injective. Okay. So, and the retest would be on a lower time frame. All right. So here is previous all-time highs around 25. Okay. Now there's the breakout. There's the retest. And on a lower time frame, it's like I said, it's better. Yes, it could go below, but we held above. But look, after the retest of all-time highs, right, this continued to run. Right? So whenever you have something that goes into price discovery and you miss the long from lower, don't try to chase it because it could easily, here, look at this on a lower time frame. I hate when TradingView fucking does this. And my line's gone, so I don't know where the fuck. Never mind. I don't have the patience for that. Yeah, I definitely don't have patience for that. Scratch that. So scratch that. But on a lower time frame, maybe it's here. Fuck TradingView. On a lower time frame, it could go up and then crash down below. That's what we saw on the daily, that wick below, right? So we had the breakout. It went all the way up to $28, and then it came back down at 25. It wicked down to like 23, right? But it all depends on the daily closure. So if you're looking at this on a lower time frame, yes, you'll have to deal with some volatility, but usually when coins go into price discovery, the all-time high retest will give a nice move, and you can back test this on coins like Bitcoin and stuff like that. It's all going to be the same. All right. So Tau. Did I chart this here? I think it was in one of my videos I did. But the demand zone filled perfectly and gave a nice move. It's also in a descending channel here. So just like whatever coin I just did that looked exactly the same, you want to wait for the breakout and retest before getting into it. Otherwise, this is a completely different setup now. But you're going to play the SR point. There's previous resistance, SR point, start DCA there. It's also a giant OB. Let's just move this OB up because this demand zone is no longer valid. Okay, so entry very light, DCA within this OB, and you have a technical target of around 524. That's if you take it from here, but if you take it from this impulse, you have a different target, which would probably send you back into those highs there. All right, so this is what I'd be looking at. If otherwise, wait for the breakout and retest to long, and stops would be developing. I can't give that just now. I wouldn't short this resistance at 469 this time because we've had so many rejections from it. But you also have an inverse head. You have a cup and handle. You have a lot of things going on here. Inverse head and shoulders. You have a cup and handle. All give you different targets. Tau looks good. What are your best picks for spot that can do an easy 5 to 10x? I don't think you're going to get a 5 to 10x in alt season. I don't think alts are going to run as many people think they are, right? Most coins, in my opinion, are topped. I think alts are in a bear market, and Bitcoin is the strength. So I don't believe in. I hate when YouTube influencers come out and say, "Oh, the next 10x coin or is this," right? You had a chance to get hype at $10 or $12. It just put in a 4x. You had the chance to get, Link at $5 and went to 30. It put in a 7x. So, I mean, you had a chance to get Fartcoin sub 30 cents or whatever the fuck it was in March, 20 cents, and it put in a 7x, right? Or 8x at the highs. So these coins already had their alt season. So alt season already happened for most of these coins. And the biggest misconception is people think alt season lasts like a whole fucking 5 to 6 months. It could be 2 days, it could be 3 days, it could be 2 weeks. And these coins like WIF, right? 30 to $1.50 almost, so almost a 5x. So these coins already missed. I don't think we have much upside on most of these coins. So there's no easy 5 to 10x in my opinion. But I do think, ENA could be a 2x. Um, let me see. I think Farcoin could be a 2x, but I don't think anything puts in a 5 to 10x. Although, I'm not discounting those small, crap bullshit coins that people are trying to trade. I only trade high cap coins, so I don't think we have any high cap coins that could put in a 5x. Um, okay, I'm gonna do 3 more coins, but let me answer these final questions. What's your final TP for Sol? My average is 166. I think my final TP would be around 210, 225. But I'm not banking on it hitting exactly. I'm just going to take profits on the way up. How much should a spot trader enter in each trade? It depends on your own risk management. I enter about 6 to 12% of my port per trade. That's including DCAs. Alright, so I'll do Hype, I'll do Litecoin, and I'll do Ondo, and that's it. Alright. Hypes and price discovery. Definitely wouldn't short this coin. Let's do... Here's some fibs. Right, you had the cup and handle that was diagonal. You had bull flag, you had whatever you wanted to see here from Hype, and it played out. We even had a breakout and retest. I think this was one of the coins I covered in my video. I don't remember which chart I used though. I use Bybit usually, that's where I trade. Nope, this isn't it. Oh yeah, this was it. This was the trade that I gave live on Tuesday last week. We played the bearish engulfing candle down to the demand zone OB, and this is where we longed, or at least where I gave the long, and both of them played out perfectly. About 6R combined. So back to Hype here. Now this one's tricky. So like I said, when coins go into price discovery, it always retests that level and bounces, right? So there's a perfect example. Now this one's tricky because I don't like once a coin goes into price discovery, this can continue to go higher or it could just die from here. So I don't have a clean read on this. Yeah, because this OB was tapped perfectly. This coin is very volatile, but this would most likely be the intraday scalp. Something like that. There's no clean read on this, so I think this is a missed opportunity. If you didn't long down here, or on the retest, the R&R isn't great here. But this would be the only thing that I currently see. Definitely don't short anything in price discovery. Hype, for those that missed it, it's gone. Focus on a different trade. But if we do get a deeper pullback, So if this is the previous range for hype, right? Let's make this. Oh, fuck, wrong one. So if this is the previous range for hype and it falls back under that range, right? And if this is just a deviation just like this, then you'd look to short it on that rejection there with stop somewhere above, and then you'd long the mid-range level, and then long the range low levels if given. Okay, but over here, there's not much you can do. So if this turns it into resistance, this would be your setup. Stops again, developing, I don't really know yet. Here is your long. And then you have a mid-range long. But this would be the plan for hype. Okay. LTC. Possible breakout coming. Sorry, one sec. Okay. So possible breakout coming. I would wait for that breakout and retest. Otherwise, you have the demand zone. Hasn't broken structure yet. This is a higher low. You have demand. Or sorry, you have support there. So if we do pull back, that's, where you possibly want to long. Stops below. Entry, DCA, stops below. Lose that. Then you have a possible head and shoulders. If you lose it and turn into resistance, then you short back down to there. There are better coins to trade. This is a Dino coin. I don't expect this to run. But that's where you'd be looking to short if you get it. Okay, so if this breaks out, it's going to be most likely a range similar to this. This doesn't do shit. So you want to wait for either a retest there or a breakout and retest to long. Okay. And last coin is Ondo. Okay, so Ondo, I think I covered this last time too. It looks very similar to ENA, right? High time frame, higher low here after the higher highs were put in. Now, the difference between this and ENA looks 100 times better, and also has the narrative of DeFi behind it. However, Ondo, similar to C-Pool, doesn't have that RWA narrative just yet. Maybe it comes out, but for now, if you are looking to buy it, this would be a spot position, and this would honestly be, I think I covered this last time as well. This would honestly be your setup, right? You buy spot, you DCA all the way down to 65, 70 if given the opportunity, um, and you hold unless we have a daily closure below here. I'm going to make that red. Right, so daily closure below red, you cut, you just buy and DCA down to black, and you target a dollar 2x basically from here. And if the narrative comes back for RWA, then this should continue to run along with C-Pool. C-Pool's chart looks better because I like the accumulation base, but Ondo, here, let me post this. This is a spot suggestion, but if you're looking to play it on leverage, looks very similar to Litecoin, right? It's most likely going to reject from here. And you can take a look at this a few different ways, right? Like if this is your low, here's your low, low. We closed below here, so it has broken structure. If I'm looking for shorts, it's most likely going to be up here. Okay. This would be a bearish Quasimodo. You have your previous higher high, low, high, okay? Broke it, reject, and further down, or you wait for the breakout just like Litecoin, retest and go higher, or this would be your leverage setup, stop loss below the wick. These would be, so spot, you have conditional trade of the breakout and retest with stops below here. You have the limit order down there, and then you have the short. Ondo. And again, like I said, Bitcoin is going to have trouble at this 110.2K. That's the, I thought I had the chart for it. That's the, I guess I deleted it. That's the ultimate level that we need to get above. Okay, if we can get above 110.2K, then this will run. But see how we just rejected? We haven't had any closures above. Keep an eye out on that level. If we flip that into support, this will run much higher. I'm not in Doge. I have Bonk though. Okay. So that's it for me, guys. I'm going to stop recording here and I'll upload this on YouTube.